This is a video update on the Evo 10, but what I'm going to do this one is just try and help you understand the key elements of the things that you should check, both from a day-to-day running maintenance point of view, but also the important things that you should be checking if you're going to take your car to the track or drive it in very heavy, hard or harsh conditions. And as the service manual says for Mitsubishi, the servicing requirements become more frequent if it's being driven in harsh conditions, meaning you're overheating or raising the temperatures of transmission, brakes and engine. So the first thing you'll notice with the Mitsubishi engine bay, it's a little bit different to Subaru, is not everything is made yellow to try and find the key components that you need to check. But on the Evo 10, brake and clutch fluid is actually on the single master cylinder reservoir. You'll notice the guys have fitted high performance brake fluid AP600 with the date, which is a sticker that we put on all the cars, so from a future point of view we know when it was replaced and what brake fluid was in there, because you don't want to mix brake fluids. It's always good to stick with a common brand when you're upgrading the brake fluid on your car. We've got the minimum and maximum here for the hydraulic system, which is obviously the power steering, so there's another fill point in here that you should check. This is something that you shouldn't have to worry about too much, but it's always a good idea to have a look at it. This is the radiator overflow bottle. Now it should not always be chock-a-block full. It should be between the minimum and the maximum, or in the case of the Lancer, the low and the full point, because remember, as the engine warms up and cools down, the water expands and contracts in and out of this bottle using the radiator overflow system to suck in and let out water. Obviously you've got the oil filler cap where you top up the oil, but of course we've got the oil stick, and on this particular car you'll notice you've got the two dots. And also the interesting thing with modern day cars these days, if you fill it up to this dot here, which is the high point, and you drive the car in normal conditions, it should never use any oil that get equal or below that dot point in normal operating conditions. But of course, being a track car and heavy use, we always fill it right up to the high point and keep an eye on it as often as we can. You don't need to touch the radiator cap, because obviously you're checking that with your radiator overflow bottle, and of course if I undid that now a bit of water would come out, because obviously this is at the high point of the engine. The other thing that's important to note is in this particular car, windscreen washer fluid, active yaw control fluid and the battery is all in the boot or the trunk if you're watching from America. So from an underbody engine bay point of view, the only other thing you may want to have a look at is the air filter in behind here, and just have a cursory glance at everything else to make sure there's nothing loose, there's nothing coming undone, checking your hose clamps and all those other common type of stuff. And I'll also just point out that having a electronic throttle control engine, you'll notice there's no cable to check from an adjustment point of view, because it's all controlled via the ECU. So I'll get my cameraman to come with me. We'll go around the back of the car and have a look at those other components. As you can see in the boot on the Evo 10, you've got windscreen washer fluid, the symbol for the battery, but they're a little bit sneaky. They don't actually put a symbol for the AYC, but what you do is undo this, and you'll notice again maximum and minimum. This is for the active yaw control system. Very, very important that you use the right fluid for that, because it's part of a closed system. It's a hydraulic system. Typically you don't have to replace it that often, but again, if you're doing track days, it should be replaced often, because it does get worked very hard and does start to degrade, particularly where the fluid is working in and around the hydraulic pump. Now the battery is in here. Obviously original factory battery. Just from our point of view, just make sure it's loose and hasn't come dislodged in any of the track day stuff. Effectively, batteries these days, you don't need to check the water level. You may only do it if the car's a couple of years old. You may also want to do a battery load test to make sure the battery's in good condition. And over on this side, we've got the windscreen washer spray. Now on this particular model, being an Evo 10 GSR, not the MR model, this is also the washer bottle and the water spray bottle for the intercooler. So when you're using the automatic or manual mode on the center dash, only on the GSR 5-speed model, the water comes out of this container as well. So remember, if you're putting windscreen washer additive or soap or any of those types of things in here, you could end up with frothy water coming out of your water spray on the front of the intercooler. But if you've got an MR model, and unless you've got one of the upgrades from MRT Performance, unfortunately you don't have water spray at all, because for some reason in Mitsubishi's infinite wisdom, the MR model doesn't have factory fitted water spray. And this container goes right around the back, and it is a massive bottle, and actually in behind here you can actually feel the container itself, so it holds a lot of water for the water spray and the windscreen washers. So there you have it. There's some common things you need to check. If you are doing track days, refer our website for a really handy schedule on how often you should be changing and replacing these fluids and doing the regular checks. The other big thing to remember with a Lancer is because of the small capacity with the rear diff, I highly encourage you not to use the factory filled diff oil if you're going to go to the track or you're going to drive the car hard. There is a trick to reducing the risk of the rear diff overheating and also using the right type of fluids. And remember, on a Lancer you've got the rear diff, transfer case and gearbox oil, and make sure you get somebody to do it and replace the oils who knows what they're doing, because it is a real trap with the transfer case to not fill it up correctly, because it takes a long time to get the oil in past one of the main bearings. And the mistake people make is they think it's full when it's not. The first way that you find out is when the damage has been done. So for more technical information and audio files and more video files, you can refer our website, mrtperformance.com.au. I'm Brett Middleton. Thanks for watching.